So in some of the previous demonstrations, we've shown how to develop an app, or at least to create a local development environment. We've shown how you can launch a production app, how you can deploy to that app. And now what we want to show is how you can undo or roll back a deploy that maybe was a little bit too premature, or maybe was just a total mistake. So, it happens. It happens to the best of us, even when we have processes around to protect that. Sometimes something gets up and something gets botched. So we're going to show how Nanobox makes the process of redeploying a previous commit or rolling back the most recent deploy really seamless. So to get started, let's head on over to our editor, and we're going to make a bad commit. So this is a totally contrived example here. So we're just going to say, bad commit. And now we're going to head back over to our terminal, and we're going to run the deploy. So as we've seen before, we generate a runtime that we then synchronize with the application that's or the runtime that's currently deployed. And the nice thing is, since this is a subsequent deploy, it's really quick. Okay, so we can now see that the deploy is going through. It's going to launch a new version of the application, which we can see in more detail as we open this up. It's launching a new web.main, pulling the code base, configuring, and then lastly, which we'll see here, is that it will update the load balancer to point to the new application and then destroy the old instances. Okay, so with that in place, we can now go to our live app and we can say, oh no, we can see that we have a bad commit. That wasn't what I meant to do. That's bad. Users are complaining and everyone's frustrated. It happens. We've been there. So we can quickly go into history and say, okay, that was not what I meant. So let's redeploy this the deploy where we were currently at. And let's head back over to the dashboard to see how that's coming along. And it's going to follow the same process. It's now going to create new components. It's going to pull the code in. It's going to get it started up. But this time, when it's pulling the runtime, it's actually pulling the runtime from a previous deploy, updates the load balancer, and we can now go back here and see, okay, we're back in business. All is right with the world again. And now you can go to your code, fix the problem, and push another deploy. So Nanobox understands these things happen and has baked in a process for you to accommodate those. Now, I actually have been a little bit lazy here with my deploys, but so let's go back over here and, whoops. Let's go over here and say, hello Nanobox. If I was doing this the right way, not just contrived, I would actually deploy and pass a commit message, or not a commit message, a deploy message, and let's say fixed bad code. Okay, so now this time when when it deploys, which we'll see here, after it synchronizes and commits the runtime in production, looks like it's just about done there, just committing the runtime. Okay, so now when we go to our dashboard and we see this new one coming through, here on our history page, we can see that the deploy that's being provisioned actually has a message that says fixed bad code. And that becomes really helpful when you need to roll back to a specific point. And again, it's something that if you're disciplined to do, great. If not, then you can just redeploy the most previous. Okay, and lastly, what I want to show here is that by default, Nanobox is only going to store 2 deploys. So, and a lot of that is just because by default Nanobox launches a very small server on your account that it puts the warehouse on, and so we want to be efficient with that. And if you want to store more, you can specify how many deploys that you actually want to store, and that will allow you to go redeploy up to the last 12. And it's great feature. I would just suggest though that if you are going to do that, you just might want to make sure that that the server that you're running on, you might want to either scale that up to something that has a little bit more disk. I guess I do have plenty here. Or the other alternative is you can actually go into the load balancer, or sorry, not the load balancer. You can actually go into the warehouse and move the warehouse onto its own server that has plenty of disk space. Either way, whatever seems to work best. And then last thing to see here is just to verify that the previous deploy went through. It did. And so you can see that Nanobox really makes the whole process of deploying and oops, I need to roll back, and also being able to attach a message to these deploys just really simple, really intuitive. And hopefully Nanobox can help turn those really bad days into just a quick blip and just a quick oops that you're able to recover from quickly. So thanks again for joining. We've got some really cool stuff on the way, so I would encourage you to stick with us and wait to see what's next. Thank you.